Hello and welcome to an exclusive hour-long programme with me, Alex Belfield, talking to two international megastars. And I don't get to say that very often. It's always nice to talk to people who have changed the world musically. And Benny Andersson is one of these people. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome to Stockholm.
It's so exciting to be in the place where you created this music. Do you feel playing your music is more interesting than talking about it?
You're right.
What type of a man are you? Are you a man that would rather have your music speak for you, or are you happy to do this?
I'm happy to talk to you. You know, it's very seldom actually one gets to talk about music, which is, for a good reason. It's quite difficult to talk about what's in it. And it's a boring thing to tell you about how it works, because it works the same. You know, I'm a sort of a 9 to 5 guy, or I'd say 10 to 5. And every song through the years has come up exactly the same way. It's like sitting at the piano, either me or Bjorn and I together during the Abba days, and just waiting for something to come around and sort of pick it up when it flies by. I don't know how it works. If I knew, it wouldn't take so long, you know. But so people always ask us, well, can you tell me something about how Dancing Queen came up, or Fernando? It's always the same thing.
How much rubbish is there compared to the genius?
Well, I don't know if there's a genius, but it's a lot of, let's say it's a 95% rubbish. More. It's more than 95% to the good stuff. I did a calculation like a year ago, and I was trying to find out how many hours of music I have achieved during the years from 1966 or whatever it was when I started. And the calculation came out to like maybe 3 minutes a month. I never know if it's going to be a hit. I only know if I like it. And that's what I go by. Only that and nothing else. And if I'm unsure, like now, I have been working on my own now for, I don't know, 20 years. And I can often make up my own mind. I said, this is good stuff, let's work on this. If I'm hesitant, I would ask someone I trust to say, listen to this, have you heard this before? Someone else did this, or is it for real, you know? So, but it's really the process is getting rid of what's not talking to you. And why it is, and why I keep what I keep, I don't know.
And is it a case of tweaking? If you have a rubbish song, can you make it brilliant, or do you just have to throw it away and start again?
You can't make anything good out of rubbish, I think. Now, some people might say that everything that we do is sort of rubbish, but I don't feel that way. I think it's good stuff. Many other songs, some of them, I mean, obviously, they're not all good songs, thank God. So sometimes some old songs make me sort of blush a bit. But on the other hand, at the time, we thought that was okay. And at the time, in the beginning with Abba, we didn't have time. We had 1 day a week in the studio, and we had to get things done, and we had to sort of release an album. And in the beginning, we had to squeeze in stuff that we maybe weren't that pleased with, but just in order to get things moving, you know.
Are there songs you're still excited to hear on the radio, or are you a bit tired of them all now?
When I work on stuff, you know, like in the middle of a process of a recording with my band, for example, or when I worked with the Mamma Mia soundtrack for the movie, it's constantly on. In the studio, in the car, at home, to be in the process, not to sort of let anything sort of slip out the window without sort of taking notice of it. And but after that, once it's done, once it's in the can and it's sort of a CD exists, it disappears for me. I never listen to it again.
All right, we'll take a piece of music and we'll be back with Benny Andersson. We're going to find out about your life and career and what you're doing today, because it's as interesting what you're doing now as you did in the 70s. The difference is the 70s stuff is still being played everywhere as much as your new stuff. We're going to find out why later on in the programme. We'll be back with Benny Andersson next. We're back on your favourite local radio station talking to the stars of Abba, and the stars really are the guys that wrote it and put it together, but there's only 50% of the group still talking about it. Do you wish the girls still had a voice and wanted to talk about it? They've kind of gone away from it and said Abba's in the past.
Well, Abba is in the past. I tried really, really hard to sort of put that behind me, but when Mamma Mia happened, it was unavoidable. I mean, all of a sudden it all it all was around Abba and the old records and the Mamma Mia thing. So it's been impossible to avoid. But I think you can talk to the girls. It's just a matter of sort of getting hold of them, you know. One's out there somewhere and one is living here in Stockholm. I don't think that they're reluctant to talk about the old days.
And when you see the videos of you guys then, or hear those ABBA records on the radio now, does it seem like a different person?
I feel the same. I don't even feel older though I am, you know. It's no, it feels all right. It's like we were putting on something occasionally, like clothes, to sort of just to make a little splash, you know. Apart from that, no, I think it's most of the stuff is okay. Most of it, not all of it.
How do you stay humble today? Because there isn't a place in the world where your music hasn't been or is not still currently being played. There aren't that many artists that could be current 30 years after they release their songs.
Well, I'm not that humble, but I think it helps if you realize that why this all happens is just, it's pure luck, because it's a gift, right? Being able to choose good stuff from bad stuff, trying to write music, and at the same time being on the same level as an audience. That's pure luck. Talent is luck. The rest is hard work. So I'm proud of the hard work, which is not like working in the coal mine, but it's still, it's as we spoke about earlier, it takes a long time to achieve something good. And for that I'm proud, and that's why I'm not so humble. But when it comes to the talent that has been put on me and all the other guys, that's pure luck, and there's nothing to brag about.
It's interesting, because if you think of songs like Dancing Queen or Mamma Mia, they could become very cheesy and be just played as a joke. Did you ever worry about that? Because you make fun of your own music in Mamma Mia, the stage show and the movie, of course, but it's still a great tune. And you talk about the look. I think luck will only take you so far in getting played repeatedly.
Well, we always thought we did good stuff. Nothing cheesy about that, you know. We did exactly what we wanted to do. Now, what you refer to as a sort of could be cheesy must have to do with the lyrics. Has nothing to do with the music as such. Don't you agree? And I've never been involved in writing lyrics. I only care for the music itself. And as long as the lyric sits together with the music nicely, fine with me. I don't care if it's called Mamma Mia or Fernanda or Dancing Queen or whatever, as long as it sort of runs along with what the melody is, you know. And no, I must say that we were and are really sincere about the stuff that we've been writing, and very proud of it.
All right, we'll come back next with more from Benny Andersson. We're going to ask next, what makes a good tune? We're back with Benny Andersson on your favourite local radio station, talking to the star of ABBA, the man who sat down at the piano and created Dancing Queen and Mamma Mia, Thank You for the Music, and all these great tunes that everybody can sing. That's where I think you're a genius. You write tunes that people who are not musical can remember.
What do you want me to say? I don't know. I don't know why it is a good tune. I know that I think it's a good song. You know, I'd say, this is good. This does not exist. It has identity, and I like it. Well, there's no recipe. If there was one, I mean, it would be an easy task, wouldn't it? It's not. It's just a matter of sort of trying to use what you've been given to make good choices, and never give up. And don't give away stuff that does not rhyme with that doesn't rhyme with what I feel. You know. That would be a disaster, because then you have nothing to hang on to. If you know you like the stuff, you know that there's something about it that make you sort of release it at all. If you're doing guesswork, you're in deep, man.
And as for hearing the ABBA songs on the radio now, is it still as much of a thrill hearing them talked up as they were 30 years ago?
I think some of them sounds pretty good to be so old, you know. I think it's it has. I mean, we spend a lot of time in the studio, which many other bands did too. And Michael Tretto was a great sound engineer, and we never gave up until we were all happy, the three of us, Michael and Bjorn and myself. And that pays off today, I think. Some of the recordings are really good. I think a song like Knowing Me, Knowing You, or Dancing Queen.
It's interesting, Knowing Me, Knowing You, when you look at Alan Partridge, and he made that song popular with his Aha. Yeah. Is that a compliment?
I think so. I think it's fun, you know? I haven't seen that show. I'm a foreigner, you know.
But you've heard about it.
I heard about it, yeah. You know, did someone tell you about when we had the first preview of Mamma Mia? When Sam is singing Knowing Me, Knowing You to Sophie, they decided, the director and whoever said, let's take the ahas away. You know, Knowing Me, Knowing You. So the ahas was taken away from the show. And when the first preview came, he came to the chorus and he was singing Knowing Me, Knowing You, and the audience went, aha. So we put it back in.
And it's still there today. All right, we're going to take a piece of music. We'll take that one, Knowing Me, Knowing You, here on your favourite local radio station. We're back with Benny Andersson on your favourite local radio station. You're musical, and that's not surprising, because when I read your biog, Dad was a musician and Granddad was a musician, and you were surrounded by the accordion and how to play instruments, and that led to the piano, did it?
Yes, it did. I was taught to play the accordion. Well, my father and grandfather just did it for fun. They were not professional musicians. And I had one when I was 6, and I was obviously a good learner. So when I was on my 10th birthday, my parents bought a piano for me and my sister. And I used it, you know. You can play the accordion, you can play the piano, and you use your left hand like you do with your bass side on the accordion, and from there I just kept on working. I think that's the trick, though, you know. So if you have a talent, if you realize, I don't think when you're so young you don't know, you just feel that this is fun, this is what I want to do. So I was sitting at that piano hours and hours every day, and I'm still sitting at the piano every day for hours and hours since I was 10. And I think if you do that, something good must come out of it. And I think it goes for every good musician, every composer, everyone. If you start really early, and if you are in the middle of the thing of music and you enjoy that, something good comes out of it.
How much is down to hard work, and how much is an energy that comes to you from somewhere else?
Oh, it's a tricky thing, that, isn't it? I wonder what it is, because the thing is that when it happens, I know what it is. But I can't make it happen unless I sit there for hours and hours playing, letting my hands go, trying to hear something that I haven't heard before, that is sort of has some value. And I don't know what it means when it happens. I don't know how it works. I think if you ask any other good songwriter, he or she would say exactly the same thing. You can ask a painter or a writer, they would say the same thing. It's something that comes out of sitting there, waiting for it to happen, working on waiting for it to happen.
When we talk about the X Factor today, and I look at someone like you, there aren't many of you around, are there? I mean, I can think of Elton John. He can write, yes, play, and sing. There aren't many people who can do all three.
Well, I can't do all three. I can write and I can play. I can't sing. Well, I can sing in tune. I can do harmonies. I do on the records, but I don't have a singer's voice, I'm sorry to say. I wish I had.
No, but I mean, you can still pull off a tune, can't you?
I can sing a song, but nobody would listen. You're lucky. I mean, that's the reason. And Bjorn and I was, in the beginning, we knew we could write some good stuff. So we recorded an album, him and me, singing, and well, he could sing a little better than I, but not much. And then we were together with the girls, Frida and Agnetha, and they came in to help us out to do some backing vocals on our first album, a Swedish thing. And then we said, well, we crazy. We should write the songs. They should sing it, you know. And we should write pop music in English. So we did. We We wrote a song called People Need Love. This is the first thing we did in 1972. Girls are singing, we're doing some backing vocals, and all of a sudden, it was all there, you know. So, very natural, and I think it's quite clever of me and Bjorn not being the vocalists of this group. Bjorn is singing. Every album, he's singing one song, just to sort of break it up a bit on the albums. I think it was good.
What I did notice in the research was Eurovision played a part in two ways. One, of course, with Abba. But prior to that, your writing brought Abba together, didn't it?
Absolutely, like we spoke about earlier. I mean, we were writing. We thought that we could write good songs. I mean, there came a single with the Hollies, for example, and we said, well, we can do that, you know? But nobody cared, and nobody thought we could, outside Sweden, that is. We sent out songs to publishers. Nothing was ever recorded. Yeah, Lonnie Donegan recorded one of the songs. I don't remember the title of it, something about a train station. But that was it, and nobody wanted to listen. So we said, how on earth are we going to convince people outside Sweden that we're a good bunch of people, we can do good things? And we said, well, we can enter the Eurovision, because everybody is watching the Eurovision. And if we go there, even if we don't win it, we can still play a good song that we like, and people will recognize that there is a Swedish band called Abba. You know, and that's why we entered. Otherwise, we would not have done that.
And how did you choose the song that went on to create the beast that was Abba?
We had two songs to choose from. We had one more of sort of more Eurovision type of thing called Hasta Mañana, which is on the same album, on the Waterloo album. And we had Waterloo, and said, we want to do Waterloo because it's more like what we want to do, even if it doesn't fit into the Eurovision Song Contest. So we said, let's go with that, because, you know, that's more like what we want to be, and if we don't win, it doesn't matter, it's still the song we want to do.
How do you feel when you go out on a stage and you know that it's make or break? Because Eurovision either creates something wonderful or, in many cases, ruins people's careers. Were you nervous? Were you excited? Or did you think this could be it? This is our moment?
Well, obviously, if you're in the competition, you want to win it. That's how it works. Even if you can't compete in music, it's sort of a silly thing. Nowadays, it's crazy. It's just too much, you know. And nothing ever... But I don't know. Did anything good came out of Eurovision since 1974? I'm not sure. Before that, good songs came up. You know, Volare was in there. Merci Chérie was in there. I don't know. Puppet on the String is a good song. The Spanish song, Eres Tú, was a lot of good stuff coming out. Now, I don't know.
Do you think it's just there for parody and ridicule to bring us Europeans together against the rest of the world, and for no other reason at all?
I don't know. I mean, it's good entertainment, isn't it? I mean, you sit there and watch it, and you see those different acts from different countries doing sort of 100% everything in every number, and all the lights and all the lasers and all the cameras and it's really well produced thing, but it's not for me. I must tell you, it's not.
Having said that, the outrageous costumes that they wear today, back in the 70s, what you were wearing was, well, revealing at the very least. When they said to you, this is what you're going to wear, what was your reaction?
No, we said what we wanted to wear. We wanted those clothes. Those clothes that we used for the Eurovision, they're really nice stuff. Take a look at them. They're good stuff. They're just it rhyme with the time, and they're kind of neat. Then we put some other stuff on occasionally that wasn't that nice. But those clothes I really like.
How did you feel when you looked in the mirror?
Good. I felt good. With high-heeled boots, with those, the plateau shoes, yeah. But everybody was wearing them. You walk the streets in Stockholm or London, for that matter. You were all on plateau boots. Why shouldn't we?
Do you still have those costumes?
Oh yes, they're now with this Abba world thing.
Are you ever tempted to try them on again and see if they still fit?
I don't think I would. Well, maybe I don't. I'm not too far away from it. I don't know, maybe 10 pounds?
Yeah, no, I think you're doing fine. All right, we're going to come back next and talk about the musical years. We've already talked a little bit about Mamma Mia, but Christina's the new show. We'll talk about that next. We're back on your favourite local radio station talking to a legend. There's no other way of saying it. A question I want to ask you before I forget it. How does it feel to know that your music is going to be played 100 years after you're gone?
Oh, we don't know that, do we? We know it's played now. And, well, that's good enough for me, you know? We never thought. When Abba closed down in 1982, we said, well, we might have a year, maybe two. Little money coming in from old records all over the world, and that'll be it, guys, you know? And that was not the case. And that's good enough for me. I don't know. If they're going to play these songs in another 10 years' time, great.
I can't imagine why they won't, because a bit like the Beatles still being played today, it's of its time, they're well-written songs, they're songs everybody know and love. Why would they stop playing them?
I don't know. Time changes, you know.
Were you ever influenced by the Beatles?
Oh, immensely. I mean, they were the reason I started to try to write songs. Because before the Beatles, it wasn't that obvious that there were songwriters in the world, you know. It's like the singer is the song. The Elvis record is Elvis Presley, and nobody asked about Jerry Lieber, Mike Stoller. They might be there on the record, but nobody cared. And all of a sudden, these guys came along and they wrote their own stuff. So one day I said, well, maybe one should try. You know, I can play the piano. Maybe I can write a song. And I did, and it worked.
The hedonism of being in a band like Abba, the same as the Beatles, how does that feel when you're it for that moment and there are literally tens of thousands of people waiting to see you get off a plane? Is there any way of describing that emotion?
I don't think so. It comes with the territory, as they say. I mean, it's you know what's happening. You know that you sell these many records in Australia or in England or in Germany or wherever. And you know if you go there, there's going to be a little splash and there will be people around wanting to see you. You know that. And so I don't know. It doesn't feel strange. It just feels normal. I've been a pop star since I was 18 years old. I was in a Swedish rock band called the Hep Stars when the audience were really screaming at that in those days. So I'm kind of used to it, you know. I don't know what it would be like not having had that. It's very rewarding to realize that when you try to do something good, you write a song, you write Knowing Me, Knowing You, record it, it comes out, and people like it. That's the thing. That's what it's all about. To have a communication with someone else. Now, if it's 10 guys or 10,000, it doesn't really matter, I would say. But again, I mean, I'm living in a normal situation here and have been for 45 years. So I can't tell you the difference. I don't know how it is to be you or someone else. I only know how it is to be me.
And the hedonism of it, were you ever tempted by the drugs and the way that so many went from your generation?
No drugs. Little booze, but no drugs. I don't know. It never entered us, you know. We were sort of we had families, kids, and we tried to behave like grown-ups.
Can you understand, though, being at the level of fame you were, that it is hard coming off stage from 30,000 people to nothing? How do you make that adjustment?
Well, you take a deep breath and you sort of your head is sort of spinning. You've been for 2 hours on stage and you come off and you just try to sit back and have a drink and doing nothing. It depends on how you look upon yourself, right? There's a thing that's really dangerous, I think, and that's to distinguish the difference between your talent and the image of yourself and your own self. You know, if you believe that these 30,000 watching you is actually watching you instead of listening to the music you've created because of the talent you had, then I think you could be in deep trouble. And then I think it's very, very difficult to fill the hole that probably is within you, you know?
Having said that, the relationships you had in Abba didn't last. Do you think that was possibly down to the pressure and the stress and the level of show business that you reached internationally?
Not at all. Absolutely not. I'd say the opposite. I'd say that if it hadn't been for Abba, we wouldn't have been together that long, you know? That held us together. We had this thing going. We all enjoyed it. It was really important for all of us, the careers within Abba, and that kept us going longer. I believe so.
Would you like to go back to 1975, let's say, just for a week to experience that again, or are you happy leaving that in the past?
No, I'm fine now. This is good, you know. I enjoy life as it is, and I enjoy what I'm doing. I have my orchestra, 16-piece band, and yeah, I want to do that. And we do that we did this record in English because it was lying around. I've been working with them now with the fiddlers for, I don't know, 20 years, and with my band since, I don't know, 7, 8 years? And as we had those songs lying around, most of them are instrumental, so they don't need a translation. Some are in Swedish, and Bjorn translated them. So we just for the heck of it, you know, we released it, and Universal said, yeah, fine, let's do that, you know.
Seems interesting that fundamentally you're a folk artist and a folk lover, because that really is the essence of your music, yet what you're known for is pop. Does that bother you? Do you wish you'd have been a jazz artist or a folk artist or a classical artist? Because, I mean, you're all of these things if you listen to it within your music, yet you're a pop artist.
Well, to start with, I'm not an artist. I just happen to be one of the 4 members of Abba, and I could play the piano. I'm not an artist. I can run my band, and I can be on stage, and I can talk to the audience just to feel them, make them feel comfortable and all that, but I'm not an artist. I might be almost a musician. I'm just a songwriter and a piano player on stage. The girls are artists, but I'm not a stage artist, you know. I'm not a singer, I'm not a performer.
So that leads me to my next question then. Would you have been happy just writing these songs and being the man behind it? Is it almost irrelevant, the fact that you were on stage with Abba for all those years?
In a way, yes. The thing is, though, you write a song, you don't give it away to someone, say, here is a song, you can do whatever you like. You have to follow it through. You have to be on top of the whole process till the end of it, you know, to make sure that it is as good as it can be according to my preferences. Could be as good with someone else doing it, but you never know. So that means that everything that I've been involved in, I've been staying sort of really close to until it's done. Even if it was Christina the musical, which is like a 3.5-hour thing, or the music for chess, or anything, you have to be in there and you have to have the last word, so the final cut of things. Because otherwise you never know what's going to happen. So I don't write songs for other people, just give them away. I write songs maybe for other artists, but I want to be involved in the process.
If you had the chance to delete the records and re-record them and re-release them today, would you like to do that?
Yes, but there's no use thinking like that because it's done, you know, and you have to live with it, the bad as well as the good.
We've got your grand piano in front of us, which I'd be delighted for you to play for us in a short while from now. How do you make the piano come alive? Because it's only white and black keys, isn't it, really?
Well, I can only play my stuff. You know, I'm not good at playing other people's music. So I don't see myself as a sort of a solid musician. I have no education. I can do my stuff, and that's good enough for me.
There's one final thing I'd love you to do. Would you indulge me with a few moments on the piano and just hear you play?
Thank you for the music. It's a good tune. Not a good recording, but a good song. I don't know, is it simple?
This has been a true honour for me, and thank you for allowing me into your studio. And to stand here next to your grand piano and you is a true thrill. Slipping Through My Fingers is a song that probably most people haven't necessarily heard of because it doesn't get a lot of airplay, but it's a number that really moves people in Mamma Mia. Yeah. And it comes out of the blue, and it's just such a juxtaposition to the nonsense of the show, and it really touches the heart of this story of a mother and a daughter.
I think the show is really an important thing. It's on the female side of life. It's telling you that a girl can do whatever a girl must do. It's fun though.
Alex Belfield.
Welcome back to The Big Show. It's Alex Belfield talking to two of the biggest stars in the world. We already spoke to Benny. Next we talked to Bjorn. How are you?
Very well, thank you, and thanks for calling me that. No one has done that today.
Really? Well, I think you are, and I tell you why I think you are. Everywhere you go in the world, they've heard of Abba. That must be a nice feeling for you because it worked. Your PR campaign has worked.
It has, hasn't it? And I'm amazed, you know, when I think about that every corner of the world, they probably know one of our songs. And I tell you why I'm amazed, because I don't know quite how that happened. You know, if you think about it, we split up in 82, and the songs are more well known now, I probably think, than they were during the 70s. The way the music journalists talk about it these days is, I tell you, quite a difference from what they said in the 70s. So I guess, but we always felt, you know, from colleagues in the business, colleague musicians, we always felt that they sort of understood that we had a serious approach, very, very much alike that theirs. And I'm talking about, you know, various people who you would never dream of listen to our songs, like Led Zeppelin and others. So that was a great comfort when the guys in New Musical Express would, you know, tell us to go away.
Because it didn't necessarily have to work or need to work with starting in Eurovision, because let's face it, today that's deemed a laughing stock. I mean, you don't go on there to be taken seriously, do you?
No, and absolutely not these days, but hardly in those days either. I don't think that any act in Britain would have gone on Eurovision if they didn't have to. Because even then he was tainted. He was bad image. And surely we had such a tremendous problem to overcome that image in the beginning. I mean, we had this giant hit with Waterloo, but after that it was a struggle to prove to people that we were, you know, we had planned to stay a little longer.
Did things happen out of just luck and coincidence and just the test of time in terms of your appearance with the clothes and the sound of Abba? Or were you quite meticulous in how you wanted to come across?
No, we were never image conscious, as for instance groups like Roxy Music and others. We just felt that we needed to be as outrageous as possible, just to be remembered, just to be seen, you know. We thought on if we were on the Eurovision, we decided on, for instance, a song that would stand out, which was not the typical Eurovision song. And we decided to try to stand out even more with our costumes. And that was the reason. It was never any sort of conscious image to look that way. Look that ridiculous, and I mean, we only did that for a couple of years. I think we did become much more sophisticated after that.
Did you have to rub yourself in oil to get in all that spandex?
I was fairly thin, you know. I didn't have to do that. It was quite comfortable. I was jumping around on stage in those outfits, and but they were very tight. Yes.
All right, we're going to come back with more next from Bjorn. We're here at his home in Stockholm, and we're going to talk about the view. It's dark at the minute, but in the daylight, we're going to talk about what you look at day in and day out. Back next with Bjorn. We're back on your favourite local radio station. It's Alex talking to the stars of Abba. Benny was on earlier. Bjorn's with us now. And what an honour, A, to be allowed into your home, and I thank you for that. And B, what a life you lead. It's not bad, is it?
No, this is quite comfortable, and I can be very private here. It's my own island, and I can shut the gates and be out here alone. And the place we are right now is a little cottage by the sea, so I have wonderful views, and I can come out here and sit and think whenever I need to.
Are you ever bothered by the public now? Do they come and stand at the end of your path, or do you keep yourself to yourself?
During the summer, sometimes there would be the occasional tourist finding their way out here, but they're never bothering me. They're just, happy, positive, and so I just, I just enjoy it.
How do you view the Abba years now? When you look back, is it like a different person?
It's very much another person. I see, pictures of myself, and I think, how did that happen? How did everything happen? And I don't know, and I don't know that person anymore. I mean, I know roughly what he thought and what he liked and so forth, but I think life is constant change, and people are constantly changing as well. So it's rather strange to be confronted with that as often as I am. With pictures and with television and stuff like that. And to think that... But, no, I enjoy it very much. I think I enjoy it much more now than I did back in those days. It was... what I remember was very, very hectic, very hard work, and a lot of traveling, and it's a big haze.
And the pressure of writing a hit, and then having to write a bigger hit, and then having to find another bigger hit somewhere in the abyss. Could you explain to us that pressure? Because when you're at the top, it's hard to stay there, isn't it?
It is, but somehow we never felt, that pressure, because we had complete artistic freedom, obviously. After Waterloo, we had our own record company and our own studio, and there was absolutely no one breathing down our necks at all. So Benny and I would, write away for as long as it took, and every time just trying to write something slightly different, take one more step forward, and in constant search of that, the most wonderful of songs. And that's what we did. We didn't think of, will this be a bigger hit than Fernando? Will this be a bigger hit than Mamma Mia? We would just think, if we came up with something good, oh really, this is wonderful. It's going to be great to record this. So the only pressure came from within, I would say.
And did you know when you'd got a song like Thank You for the Music or Mamma Mia or Knowing Me, Knowing You that they were going to be as big as they are today?
No. The simple answer is no, you never know. And, well, people don't believe me when I say this, but it is true. You at the writing stage, when you're there with the piano and the guitar and you come up with this song and you don't have any words or anything, you just know that it's something good. But that's all you know. And whether it's going to be a hit afterwards or not, no one knows. And I think we were just lucky that we seemed to have the same taste as, a lot of other people at that time. Because I swear to you, what we wrote was exactly what we wanted to write most at that very moment.
And how many got away? How many songs are there that you think should have been as big as those we all can sing along with?
Well, all the songs are there, in the albums. And the ones that never were released as singles were, equally important in the beginning. And they're equally important now. But, of course, they were not the type that you would release as a single. But there's nothing more left from that period other than small fragments, perhaps, in our minds.
And Benny reckons that 95% of what he writes is rubbish. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, you write all the rubbish in order to find the jewels. And in order to find them, you need to go through the rubbish. That's a simple truth. Which is why I worry today about the songwriters today. If they will have the time to hone their talent and to become really good, because that takes a lot of time, and it seems that everyone is in a hurry to write something and release it because they want to go on tour or something else. And I wish that every songwriter would have the same situation as we did and do, in that you can sit for days and weeks on end and just work and work away and throw away the rubbish. And then suddenly it comes the diamond, and then you recognize it.
Do you think, therefore, that you were in the good years of show business, a time when you could take time to craft your art, opposed to now where the businessmen are knocking on your door and the accountant's saying, release, make money, make money?
Yeah, and when they also have to, the writers who are in groups have to make money through touring because of the illegal downloading, which is changing the business completely. Yes, so I think we were, the golden years of copyright were 70s, 80s, and half of the 90s.
I know you've been very public about your feelings towards me getting your material for nothing. How bad is it really? I mean, is it literally ruining the business?
It's bad for the business. But I'm not thinking about the business now. I'm thinking about the writers primarily, because I am one. And I think it's ruining the chances for those who want to have a long career in songwriting. I think that's where the problem is, as I see it, because they could rely on, the micropayments in the past, whereas now perhaps they would, have to give a song to someone for cash because the micropayments are not coming in, and that's it's a different environment when you need people like the Medicis again, like the church would pay a painter to pay something that the church liked.
Would your advice then be to somebody who wants to be you to keep it in-house?
No, I mean, people are so different. Some people, it's best that they just do the writing. Some it's best just the producing, and some just the singing. So I wouldn't like to give any advice on that at all.
And
I'm not the right person.
All right. And this is a question that you won't be able to answer. But when you were back in, let's say, 75, 80, which was the song in the live show that you would look forward to, that you thought, yes?
Without question, Does Your Mother Know? Yeah, because that was my song. And it came towards the end of the concert, and it always went down very well.
We're back with Bjorn here on your favourite local radio station, talking about the history of Abba and talking about the future. You got a new musical, Christina, coming to London. It's been around for a while, though. We're going to get to that in a minute. I just want to talk about you as a child, firstly. Were you always a musical genius?
I never was, and I am not to this day.
All right, then, did you always love music? How about that question?
Yes. I think I liked it from the very beginning, but what I remember most was when I was 12 and I was given my first guitar, and I had the guitar as a gift for a Christmas gift, I think, and I did it because my cousin said you must get a guitar because we're starting a group, a skiffle group. He had been in London, and this one must have been like 57, 58, something like that. And there was something called skiffle happening in England. And he started a skiffle group. I got my guitar, and that's where it all started. And from then on, I was inseparable from that guitar and the other ones that I bought along the way.
When I think about skiffle, I always think of Liverpool, because, of course, that was the heritage of the Beatles and a lot of those original Merseybeat groups.
Yeah.
How influenced were you by the Beatles?
Oh, the Beatles are gods. And I think both Benny and I owe the fact that we are writing songs at all to the Beatles, because we were both in groups that did sort of covers. And then the Beatles came on the scene, and all of a sudden we realized that it's a group. They're in a group. They're in a band, but they're writing their own material. Maybe we can do that too. And so the idea came to write your own stuff, as with so many people around the world at that time. So we owe the Beatles so much. And you know that the Mamma Mia, the show, is it's on tour now, and it's going to Liverpool, and I wonder, how it's going to go down in the hometown of the Beatles. I shudder to think.
I think they'll love it, and I'll tell you why. Because if you think about music generally, whether this be in England or America, we talk about the Rolling Stones, we talk about the Beatles, we talk about Abba, we talk about Queen. Do you ever contemplate the fact you're up there with the best?
It's a very strange thought, one that I sort of... People mention those names as you just did, and us with them. But it's very, very hard to grasp. Yes, I can see ourselves being up there with Queen, but with the Beatles, no, that's too much.
In your mind, they're in a different league.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
Does it ever become normal, the fact that you can drive down Las Vegas Boulevard and switch on the radio and there you are, and then you travel over to New York and you drive down Broadway and there you are, and then you go down the Strand in London and there you are, and then in France, there you are. It's very odd, isn't it?
It's very odd, isn't it? I agree completely. I think I can never get used to that. We did the sound mixing of Mamma Mia the movie in the Brill building on Broadway, and just opposite is the Winter Garden. And every time I went out those doors, I was just looking at my name in 1.5 meters size. And it's quite incredible, and it's unreal. It's something I don't think you never can take naturally, never really grasp 100%.
I mean, and let's put your musical into perspective. It generates over $1.2 million a week on Broadway. That's just on Broadway, and it's everywhere else as well. I mean, people really are into your music, aren't they?
Yes, they are, and... Well, I'm deeply grateful, and I am reminded of it every day, every single day, and never in a negative way. It's always positive. It's amazing, isn't it?
How personally do you take those that represent your music in these different productions around the world?
Well, they're in the show. I see Mamma Mia as a show standing on its own. And they're actors who can sing. That's how I see them. And they're very good at what they're doing. Very talented, very often. They're not even pretending to be singers. They are actors who can sing.
So therefore, when you hear a bottom note or you see something you don't like, do you keep your mouth shut or do you have to put a word into the director?
Well, if I go to one of the shows and I hear someone doing something wrong, not a false note, but something else wrong, like a lyric or a phrasing or something that I don't like, I write it down and afterwards I would speak to them. And they all appreciate that very, very much.
Because I suppose these songs are like your babies, aren't they? You know them inside out, and if I'm going to muck about with them, you're not going to be very happy.
No, that's exactly right. And sometimes, a singer or an actor would take liberties with a melody, adding something new and something... and if I don't like it, I will point it out. Because there's a reason why the melody is exactly as it is, and it is that way because we've played it over and over and over again before deciding on this is how it should be. This is the final version of this melody. And that's why it feels like strange when someone is taking liberties with the actual melody.
Well, you wouldn't go ad-libbing in Shakespeare, would you?
No, exactly. I wouldn't dream of it.
Back next with more from Bjorn on your favourite local radio station. We're celebrating the music of Abba. We're celebrating the two creators who brought us these amazing tunes. We spoke to Benny. We're here with Bjorn for an exclusive hour-long programme, finding out about you, the person that created the music. And what's interesting about you is you don't believe in God. So what I want to ask you is, where do these melodies come from?
The melodies come from out there. And it's a religious feeling to receive them from outer space. But no, I don't believe in a God. On the other hand, I will never say that there is no God. I'm a pragmatic secularist. I don't like the word atheist. I feel it's wrong that someone who doesn't know whether there is a God or not should define himself. It's the one who believes there is a God who should define himself. So it's the theist who should say he's a theist, and he who doesn't know, well, he's just, someone who doesn't know.
So do you think there's a greater power, whatever it is, giving you this divine intervention that you can then put down on paper from the piano, or is this your genius brain?
It's certainly sometimes it feels as though there is a divine force at work. But, and I like that feeling. I like that, as I call it, religious feeling. When you listen back to Agnetha or Frida singing one of your songs and the lyrics and the melody, and it sounds so perfectly wonderful, so heavenly. That's what I call a religious feeling. But where that song came from, I know some people believe it's out there and it's yours for the taking if you wait long enough. It's there for you to take. No, I don't think so. It's something that happens in our minds.
Is it 50-50 between you and Benny, or is it him writing a bit more or you writing a bit more, or does it change on each record?
Well, what happened during the Abba days, we always wrote the songs together. Benny being the musical motor much more than I was. But we always sat together day in and day out. And then I would write the lyrics afterwards. So in that sense, it's a kind of a 50-50 thing, where it's impossible to say. But of course, Benny has always been the more musical one than me.
And when I look at Mamma Mia now, when I see the stage production, I think less so with the film. It's silly in places and it makes fun of your lyrics. Are you happy with that? I mean, there's a line where she's on the bed and all upset and they say, "Chiquitita, tell me what's wrong." and it gets a huge laugh, but it's playing with you, isn't it?
It is, but that's what's good about Mamma Mia. That it shows that we're not taking ourselves seriously. And don't forget that I was there from the word go. When Judy Kramer introduced me to Katherine Johnson, and the idea was there of writing a musical, and draft by draft we discussed, with Judy and I and Katherine in the beginning, and then more and more Phillida Lloyd and more people. So it didn't come as a surprise to me. I was there and willing, and I think it's very nice when Chiquitita gets a laugh like that. I like it.
What's amazing about the show is visually it isn't that spectacular compared to some of the big shows like Wicked. It is a story about a mother and daughter, and I think the reason for its success is, as silly as it is in places, it's incredibly touching. And that's, I think, what happened with the movie. And I was just reading earlier, I mean, it's the biggest selling movie of all time in the UK. Mm-hmm. Did you ever expect that for a start?
No, certainly not. I thought, with all the people involved, I'm talking about Phillida Lloyd, I'm talking about Playtone from Hollywood, Tom Hanks' company, and all the great forces, Meryl Streep. I thought it would be a good film, a good musical movie, maybe up there with Grease. I'm talking money-wise, up there with Grease or something like that. And I never thought it would break loose like that, to become not just a musical movie, but one of the big movies. I never thought.
I think you timed it very well as well. We were all a bit depressed when it came out, and I know women who went 7, 8, 9 times to see it, and they were dancing in the aisles. That doesn't happen very often, does it?
No, I've not seen that in the theatre before. I went to one theatre in Stockholm, anonymously, and they were actually standing up, during the end of the movie, as they are indeed a stage show, and that's fantastic.
Bjorn, how do you go anonymously? You're Bjorn.
Well, I just got in after the lights had gone down. It wasn't difficult.
I've got to ask you the question, didn't it make you just a little bit want to get back on stage and sing those songs again?
No, funnily enough, no. I mean, I think I was never a kind of a stage person. I think you need to be a bit of an exhibitionist to love to be up there. And also, being in a group like Abba, it's when you're on stage, you're reproducing something that you've done before, almost exactly. And I thought it was far more interesting to write new stuff. So I used to get, fed up after a week or two on tour, and that's why we almost only toured, like I would say, 4 months, 5 at the most, out of that period of 10 years. Which is very, very little.
Would you rather than have had somebody be you on stage and you just did the writing and took care of that?
No, I don't think that would have been as good. I think it was a good thing for Benny and me to be in the group. Mind you, that was also because of the Beatles. If this had happened 20 years before, we would have been the writers and we would have written for 2 girls. But I think it was a good thing for ABBA that we were in the group as such as well.
Did you not find the feeling of standing in front of 30, 40, 50,000 people intoxicating? Did that never bother you?
It was intoxicating, especially in the beginning of a tour, the first 2-3 nights. But even that becomes repetitious. It sounds very, spoiled of me to say so, but it's a fact. And some people thrive on it. The true entertainers, like Robbie Williams, like Frank Sinatra, those people. I'm sure they thrive on that. But for those of us who are more interested in writing and recording and pursuing new things, it's not for us, I think.
And as for the hedonism of being in an internationally successful group, how did you manage to avoid the drugs and the hedonism and keep out of trouble?
Well, to begin with, I mean, we were two married couples. This was a fact. And we had like 10 years of domestic careers before in Sweden, careers that nobody outside of Sweden know about. And so during those days, we did, a lot of that, which you just described. So, in other words, in a way, we had done it. We'd been there. And for us, it was far more interesting and we didn't tour that much. We wanted to go home to our families. We had kids, and we wanted to go back to our studio and all of that. And so it's just never happened. And it's incredible, I cannot remember once during that time with Abba that anyone came up to me and said, do you want to buy some? I've got some nice stuff here. Do you want to buy? Never. Didn't even happen. Maybe there were people around us who got rid of those. But isn't that strange? You talk to other groups in the 70s. You talk to male rock groups in the 70s. Oh, different story.
So did you view the group then as just a job?
The glamour that you're intoxicated by in the very, very beginning wears off. And I would say that in a way we had that glamour during our days in Sweden, in the groups we were in before. So when Abba started, we were far more interested in the actual creating of something than the surrounding, glamour.
And very finally on this, the pressure it put on your relationships. Do you think you'd still be together today if Abba hadn't have happened? Do you think it put a pressure on the relationship that basically was just too much for you all to handle?
I think that Agnetha and I probably would have split up 5 years earlier if it hadn't been for the group. because there's far more pressure on a marriage if the husband or the wife is out there and having a great success and traveling the world with all these temptations that there are out there. That would have put pressure on a marriage far more than if you're out there with your husband or your wife. So that's what I think.
Let's look back then 25 years or so. Do you have any bad feelings about Abba? Was it just a great experience, or is there any regrets?
No, I can't think of. Sometimes we did do the wrong television show, and we shouldn't have done that. Perhaps we released the wrong single, but that's such. That doesn't mean anything. And there was nothing really strategic, nothing big that we should have done differently. No, I don't think so.
All right, we're going to come back with our remaining moments and talk about your new project, Coming to London, the new big musical, for one night only, and we need to ask why. We'll do it next with Bjorn. We're back with our remaining moments with Bjorn, the creator of Abba and the creator of a couple of musicals, actually. Chess, of course, was your big one. I think people forget that. Did you find that people didn't realise it was you and Benny?
No, I mean, they never tell you on radio who the writers are. They just say that this is so-and-so singer with. So I'm used to that.
You've almost got to be egoless to be a writer, haven't you? Because you hand your stuff over. I think you two were smart, that you kept control of your own records and made them a hit for yourself. I don't blame you. I would as well.
No, that's... maybe we did something right.
And this new musical, Christina, it debuted last year on Broadway. But, I mean, this is ages old. It was here for years in Sweden. You're now bringing it to London. Are we going to see this in the West End permanently so we can all enjoy it?
Only the future can tell. We don't know that. We just want it very much to present, because Herbert Kretzmer who wrote Les Miserables, and I have written the English lyrics for it. It was in Sweden and in Swedish, as you said, it ran here for three years, I think. But we did present it on Broadway at Carnegie Hall last year, and we desperately wanted to present it in England as well. And what better place than the Albert Hall? So this is a concert version of Christina the musical. It's great because I'm very proud of it, and as you said, the English don't know anything about it, and this is by far, I think, the best way to present it at first, and then maybe more people will get interested, and we'll see if there's interest for a fully fledged musical later on.
Does it still matter to you what I think? Do you still care?
I think I do. I think I would be upset if you said something that I didn't agree with. Or if you said that this or that song is and you never, surely you didn't do your best there and so forth. Yeah, I would get off.
And that's nice, because it means that you've still got the hunger for it, which is amazing, because you would think by now you'd take your money and run, but you still keep fighting to be successful, and that's incredible. It kind of underscores the fact that you are a musician, aren't you? You're not really a showbiz tart that wants to be out there being popular.
No, that's right. You're absolutely right. It is what we have created that I'm so proud of, and I'm dying to present. To hear that stuff sung from the stage and sit down in the audience and feel how the audience reacts. It's, it almost beats being up there on stage.
You're going to hate this question. It's like asking who's your favourite child. But what are you most proud of? Is there one piece of music you think, I nailed it?
Well, there are several things from the Abba years, from Chess, from Christina. And it's quite so difficult to say, but something that you'll see will go down, I think, very well at the Albert Hall is a number from Christina that I'm extremely, extremely proud of. And it's called You Have to Be There. And that's what I'm telling you out there as well. You have to be there on the 14th of April. Wasn't that good?
You're good at this. You're good at this. My final question has to be this. How does it feel knowing that 100 years after you've gone, we're still going to be playing your records on the radio?
Well, I don't know that, do I? And I never certainly think about that.
It's a nice feeling, though, isn't it, to know that people still care, because not many artists from the 70s particularly are being played today. A lot of that music is forgotten, because as time moves on, we care less and less.
Yeah, that's right. Which is why I always ask myself the question, and Benny too, why us? When there was so much good in the 70s that is now almost forgotten. I don't understand it, but I'm very proud and very pleased it is the way it is.
Thank you for allowing me in your home. Thank you for talking to me. It's been a great honour and a pleasure. And to me, a living legend is such a thrill, because you've given so much happiness to so many people. And when I go around clubs doing appearances or whatever, and they bang your records out at the end of the night, I can assure you there's not a dry seat in the house. Everybody's on their feet. Mm-hmm. Do you ever think about that when you're lying in bed, wondering how many people are boogieing to Dancing Queen around the world?
Oh, that's quite a thought, isn't it? I think I'll think about that tonight. I'll look at my world watch and see what the time is in New York, what the time is in Sydney, and so forth, and I'll know.
Bjorn, thank you so much for talking to me, and again, thanks for letting us into your beautiful home. What a life, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.